and today we're taking a fascinating journey into a dense and thought-provoking piece of research by S.C. Sayles, his book The Second Shamay. Okay, so let's set the stage. The title, The Second Shamay, might seem mysterious if you're not steeped in biblical Hebrew. Shamayim is the Hebrew word often translated as heavens in Genesis, and Sayles asserts it's crucial to understand that heavens, plural, are not just the blue sky and outer space, but layered realms that reveal something fundamental about the nature of reality and the human experience. So what's the heart of the problem Sayles is grappling with? Well, he's really asking, what do the heavens actually mean in the earliest biblical texts? And how does that meaning affect the way we see ourselves, our bodies, our minds, even our souls? Now, why does that matter? Why re-examine Genesis? Isn't it just ancient poetry or, I don't know, a story about creation? But, Sayles argues, and this is kind of bold, the way we understand these ancient words shapes our whole picture of what the universe is, what consciousness is, even what it means to be human. If the heavens aren't just out there, but also describe levels of mind and spirit, suddenly the boundary between science and spirituality, or matter and meaning, isn't so clear. Kind of wild, right? So, let's break down his main ideas. Sayles builds his case on both scriptural interpretation and a blend of philosophical, linguistic, and scientific lenses. At the core, he challenges a very old assumption that the second heaven refers to outer space. Instead, he proposes, wait for it, the second heaven is actually a real, created, but immaterial domain. It's the place where consciousness, thought, personality, and spiritual experience unfold. Think of it not as an actual space in the stars, but as a structural reality for the mind and the soul. How does he get there? Sayles carefully examines the Hebrew text, especially that plural shamayim, and pulls together centuries of commentary from everyone from Calvin to Augustine. He insists that the plurality means something, that heaven has levels or layers echoed in Paul's third heaven remark in the New Testament. But rather than being 7 floors above the clouds, these are realms or dimensions, physical, cognitive, and spiritual. Now, when he talks about a tripartite model, body, soul, spirit, he's not saying humans are split into 3 substances. Instead, he follows a line in Reformed theology that sees soul and spirit as 2 expressions of a single immaterial essence, just showing up differently in different scriptural contexts. For Sayles, the soul is where our thoughts and feelings and perceptions live, the intermediate spiritual domain he dubs the Second Shamay. Meanwhile, the spirit points toward our capacity for connection with God or the ultimate, the third heaven. One interesting method he uses, he brings in the language of information theory, like the stuff behind computer science or quantum physics, to argue that just as modern scientists describe underlying fields shaping matter, the biblical worldview saw the logos, or divine word, structuring not only the material but also the immaterial. There's a substrate to reality, what he calls the information field, that undergirds both physical and spiritual domains. So what can you, as a listener, take from this? Well, even if you're not particularly religious, the insight here that our consciousness, our sense of self, isn't just a side effect of physics, but might actually inhabit a real, created, cognitive, spiritual domain, opens some big questions. Maybe it gives you a new lens for thinking about the mind-body problem, or the way ancient texts wrestle with questions that science and philosophy keep circling back to. Where does meaning come from? Where do we actually exist? Now, if I can digress for a second, every time I talk about layered realities, I can't help thinking of onion metaphors, not super academic, but it gets the point across. Peel back one layer, and there's always something more under the surface. It's kind of like what Sayles is doing, peeling back the familiar language to see what might be hiding underneath. Coming back, Sayles is at pains to stress he's not denying the unity of body and soul, or departing from a grounded theological tradition, but offering a model that tries to make sense of scriptural nuance and modern ideas of dimensionality and information. He wants readers to realize that the cosmos described in the Bible is way richer and more layered than we typically assume.